So here we go, getting ready to head back to work, start of a brand new work week here in Grenada. Folks, thank you very much for joining me for today's edition of Good Day Grenada. I'm George Grant, and there they go. Today happens to be 26th day of August, approaching the end of another month. End of the 8th month, man. And got a very serious program for you this morning. Yeah, very serious program. Before I get started, though, let me acknowledge the folks who are racing and scampering to be first on. Well, this morning, the winner is, I admonished him last week, for apparently being sort of tardy over the last few days. The winner is Mr. Peter Bishop. I'm not sure if we should give him the prize because he simply says, there are two posts from him. They're both first and second. So the first one says, good morning. And I imagine that's all he said simply because he was in this mad rush to make sure that he got in first. And then he comes back with a second post which says, good morning all. He forgot the all part. All right. Anyhow, we'll be nice. We'll give him the prize. And the second person to chime in this morning is our good friend out there in Decatur, Anthea Rollo. Good to see you, Anthea. I'm seeing a lot of you these days, and I'm only assuming that you do shift work and your recent shifts have allowed you to join us on Good Day Grenada. We're so happy about that. Thank you very much, Anthea. Now, pilgrims. Oh, Chester Simon, Chester's third. Chester, I hope you're doing well. Samantha McFarland Thomas is saying good morning and wishing us all a blessed Monday. Thank you very much, young lady. And Anthony Park is saying hello to all. Good to see you folks. Just let me turn the air conditioning back on here for a minute there. This place was freezing. Anyhow, getting down to brass tacks, folks. I would imagine that a lot of you are focused on what's coming our way. Well, I'm going to share some interesting stuff with you this morning. And I'm also going to show you some images. So I want to put your heart at ease. Because so many people still remember so vividly what happened during Hurricane Ivan and the aftermath as well. You mention the word storm and everybody goes, ah! Yeah, this ain't no Hurricane Ivan. It ain't. And you'll see that in just a minute, okay? So please, put your heart at ease. I'm not telling you to let your guard down. I am not telling you to let your guard down. But just know that this is not going to destroy Grenada, okay? As did Ivan. Well, he thought he did anyway. So it's still going to be what I have described in the rundown here as a very close call. We're not going to get a bullseye, but he's going to pass. I'm assuming that Dorian is a he. I haven't checked, but I'm assuming it's a he. It's going to pass pretty close, so it's going to be a close call. We're going to talk a bit about that, and we also have the national report for you. And the final part of our program this morning, as planned, will be an excerpt from yesterday morning's Sundays with George Grant, where we talked about a lecture which was delivered to Grenada's media corps at last Tuesday's post-cabinet briefing. It ruffled a lot of feathers. And when I did the program yesterday, I thought something had to be said. And I said it, okay? I'm gonna run that by you this morning. Now, back here to social media, Dennis Charles. Mr. Charles, how are you? The man always has very, very shiny shoes. Have you seen his Facebook page? Always very shiny shoes. Good morning. He says, good day to you, George. Keep informing the public. Dennis, I'm trying, boy. I'm trying. And with people like you around, we're going to do a good job, and we will succeed. Oswin Lewis is saying good morning, everyone. And Arthur Langine says, good Monday morning, Brother George, from chilly New York. Chilly already? Can't wait to hear what Margaret has to say about that. And John says, good morning, Gigi and the world, from a prepared Carriacou. Well, I hope that you guys are real well prepared. But like I said, this storm's not going to move Grenada to the Gulf of Mexico. Let's put it that way. All right? So, with those preliminaries, let's get down to brass tacks. Okay? Let's get down to brass tacks. My dear friends, the latest update on this storm we'll share with you in a minute. But just let me say right off the bat, we have a storm which could possibly be a hurricane later on today, breathing down our nostrils or up our nostrils. Okay? And as recently as last night, I realized, hey, we still do not have a list of shelters. Yeah, I admit it's probably getting kind of boring hearing me harping about this, but people's lives are at stake, okay? So I received a release from NADMA last night, one of their advisories about Dorian. And I couldn't help but notice, once again, at the end of the release, it said, for addition information, not additional, for addition information, please contact the National Disaster Management Agency, NADMA, on 440-8390 to 4, 8391, 8392, 8393, 8394, and 440-0838, or email address, nadma@spiceisle.com. And the very last line says, NADMA is the official source for all disaster-related information. And I took that as an opportunity to get some information. I wanted to find out what I could tell you guys this morning, guys and ladies, excuse me, about the location of our shelters. Folks, I called two of those numbers, 440. Okay, just hang on a sec here. Yeah, 440-8390 and 440-0838. Yeah. No answer. Okay? Now, remember, we were within probably 24 hours or so, a little over 24 hours of being possibly skirted by Dorian. No answer. And for those of you who believe that I'm making this up, I'm not. I actually recorded it. If you want to hear the efforts I made and my narration as I was making those calls, it's available, audio. Okay? No response. So 1, no shelters. 2, on the published number that they have said you should call for any disaster-related information, no answer. Okay? There's a storm outside there. All right. At 5:35 this morning, I received the following note from the Met Office, and I quote, "At 5 a.m. this morning, Tropical Storm Dorian was located 11.9 degrees north, 56.4 degrees west, about 300 miles west, W-E-S-T, west of Grenada." Get back to that. Maximum sustained winds 60 miles an hour. Present movement is west, or 280 degrees, at 14 miles an hour. A turn towards the west-northwest is expected later today. Minimum central pressure 1,002 millibars. Grenada is under a tropical storm watch. Okay? I repeat, Grenada is under a tropical storm watch. And the stakeholders and general public should take the necessary action to protect lives and property if we are affected. Yes. A few minutes ago, you heard me say west. That's not correct, folks. That's not correct. If that storm was to the west of us, it would mean that the storm has already passed us. I have it here, you know. If you don't believe me, I will email it to you. West. Storm is not to the west of us. The storm is still to the east and coming our way. I asked myself the question, how could you mislocate a storm? Well, obviously it's not that difficult, obviously. At 8 o'clock this morning, I received the following. Now notice how little information was put out in that release from the Met Office. And by the way, up until a few minutes ago, I still hadn't seen any update from NADMA. And at 8 o'clock this morning, I received the following from the Caribbean Hurricane Network. The eye of the storm is about 364 miles away. If the system keeps moving at its current speed of 14 miles an hour, and by the way, this is based on information at 5 o'clock this morning, but I received it at 8, okay? If the system keeps moving at this current speed of 14 miles an hour and directly towards us, it will take around 26 hours to reach us. Given the current wind field, which is 45 miles from the center, tropical storm force winds extend, they say, out about 45 miles from the center. Tropical storm winds will be felt in 22.8 hours, which means, if you do the calculation, that's about 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. Okay? So, So, okay. Let me get back here to social media and see what's up. Kipling Francis sending blessings and asking you folks to share. John is saying, Dorian is a male storm, not female. I thought he was male. Yeah, okay. Fitzroy Adams saying good morning. It's cold sweater time in Brooklyn. Wow, you guys are starting to chill out kind of early, says Samantha McFarland. John says, and Toronto is 6 degrees on Saturday. Yikes. Folks, end of August? 6 degrees? Are you sure? Woo. He says, NADMA this morning activated 2 shelters in Karaoke. Well, congratulations. We're still waiting to see about the shelters here in Grenada. If you have contacts, John, tell them to send something to us. I mean, I tried. I told you up to last night. I tried to reach them about the shelters. Couldn't get through. Ryan says, just back from my gardening. Hope Tropical Storm Dorian does not impact our Grenada too badly. Well, we're all keeping our pinkies crossed, Ryan. Arthur Langine says, Brother George, are you surprised you didn't get an answer from these jokers? Well, I'm not. No, I'm not surprised. I'm not. John says, so it's gone past us then. West? Really? Yeah. Ryan says, folks don't know their west from their east. Louise Grant says, I guess the persons are not as perfect as some. You know, Ms. Grant, let me tell you this. If that was an isolated case, no problem, no argument from me. But you know, all these things with all these issues surrounding our hurricane preparedness and hurricane readiness that are going wrong, they all add up. They all add up. Cause people to snap. Yeah. It's probably just a genuine mistake. Yeah, you're right. I guess it's also a mistake that nobody answers the phone. Hey. I guess it's also a mistake that halfway into the hurricane season, we don't have a list of shelters. That one shouldn't surprise me too much because I told you some time ago, a few weeks ago, I spoke to, I think it was last month sometime, I spoke to the public relations officer at NADMA, and she didn't have the list of shelters. So I said, okay, when do you think those shelters will become available? She told me she didn't have a clue. Just a mistake, Louise, just a mistake. Whew. Arthur Langine says, if Carnival and Jap, if it was Carnival and Jap, he says Jap, but I think he means Jab, you would get a reply. Yeah, maybe. And that one wouldn't surprise me. John says maybe it was an old call center. Okay, I'm not sure. John Crow says, I appreciate you for what you're doing with the dissemination of information to the nation. Well, we're trying to disseminate information, John Crow, and I do appreciate your kind words, but I need to have the information to disseminate, you know? I remember some time ago when NADMA, not NADMA, but the Met Office was criticized for not providing enough information about storms. Their excuse was that, you know, when we, first of all, they were sort of upset that you know, a lot of people had been putting stuff out there on social media and on the radio, TV, everything, which they were, by the way, getting from the National Hurricane Center in Florida. And their excuse was that, well, you know, when we get the information, we have to localize it. You know, we have to analyze it and this and that, and you know, explain to the people here in Grenada exactly how it relates to them. Okay, makes sense. And they said that's the reason why the information that they put out is always so far behind the information that all of us are getting on the internet, on our mobile phones, on our iPads, our PCs. Just dial up theweatherchannel.com. Bang, it's there. Even ordinary television stations in the States, they've got websites, it's there, you know. And even though this storm is still out here in the Atlantic and they are way over there in the United States, they put the information out so that the American people can be ready. They don't wait until it reaches the Bahamas or the Gulf of Mexico before they tell their people. No, 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 no. All right, Kipling Francis says, these people get their job because of loyalty, not ability. Remember, the PM says so. So don't blame them. Good point. Sean says, if only the man gave the same attention to the safety of the country as he did to his own safety, we would have bodyguards everywhere. Like your humor, Sean. Fitzroy says, George, when the head of the snake is doing what he wants, the body will follow. This is why you couldn't get an answer. Yeah, maybe. All right, folks, now, let me show you some images. This image here was at about 8:30 this morning. It's a pretty tiny image, but right at the center of your screen, you're seeing a sort of blue and white blob, two shades of blue actually. Well, just to the left of that, if you look very closely, you'll see a red circle. That's Grenada. So as you can see, it doesn't look like this thing's going to give us a bullseye, okay? But the fact is, it's pretty damn close. That's one image. Now let's take a look at another image. And this time you have to look to the bottom right of your screen. This one's a little bit better. And this one was taken at about quarter to 8 this morning. See? Compared to Ivan, that's not a huge mass. And that's why I'm saying, you know, put your heart at ease. We're not going to be moved into the Caribbean Sea or up into the Gulf of Mexico. So the red spot just to the right, or excuse me, to the left of that blob is what I'm talking about. That's where Grenada is. John says, CBS has already put out a storm watch for Dorian, as it may hit mainland USA. See what I mean? I rest my case. I rest my case. Huh? And they're saying this thing could turn into a hurricane later on today or overnight. But they're also saying that, you know, by the time it gets out into the Caribbean Sea, they're not very sure what's going to happen to it. Okay? 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 Okay. Well, folks, let's take our first little break and we'll come back.
You don't know how many hurricanes will be coming this season, so you need to be prepared. At Hubbard's Hardware and Building Supply departments and the Food Fair supermarkets, everything from canned foods, flashlights and batteries, to plywood, tarpaulin, lanterns, Roof repair kits, water tanks, etc. are available. For over 90 years, we've helped you prepare for and recover from storms. Hubbard's Hardware, Food Fair Supermarkets, and the Grenadian General Insurance, an integral part of your hurricane preparedness plan.
Studying too hard about back-to-school expenses? Co-op Bank is making back-to-school as easy as 1, 2, 3. Enjoy competitive interest rates, affordable monthly payments, speedy decisions on applications. Come in and apply today.
Good morning, Grenlek Meter Reader.
Morning, Mr. Meterman. I'm glad I caught you. Last month, I got a very high bill, and I don't understand why.
Last month, we were not able to access your meter, so we had to estimate the bill. This will happen if we don't get an actual reading.
So, what can I do to ensure that my meter is easily accessible?
Well, you can get your licensed electrician to move your meter outside of the gate or directly in front of the house. That way, I'll have easy access and I won't have to deal with your dog.
Ah, Butch.
Yes, dogs can be a problem sometimes. On one occasion, I was attacked by a dog and police had to get involved. Customers who don't want to cage or tie their dogs should really move their meter and make it easily accessible.
Well, I'll consider that.
Thank you.
Grenlek, energizing our Grenada.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
All right, we've now been joined by Margaret, and Margaret is apologizing. She says, I'm really late today. Sorry. Okay, your apology accepted, although I see that John has issued some lines that you've got to write. 100 lines. I will not be late, aging, or again this year. Folks, there's also a comment. Why doesn't this comment surprise me coming from that person? Louise Grant says, why not volunteer your skills? Louise, I would have ignored that. But because Peter Bishop responded by saying, really, Louise? I think I should say something. Louise, for a couple of years, I, George Grant, was on NADMA's committee for emergency preparedness. I don't remember the name of the committee, but I was on it for a number of years. We were always at odds because I was being criticized for monitoring on my computer the Atlantic Ocean every hurricane season and alerting people when stuff came off the African coast. I didn't think it was right to wait until we had a storm up our noses before telling people, hey, there's something out there. It was not intended to create alarm or anything. It's just that I was doing what they do in the United States. You heard John say a little while ago, even though Dorian hasn't even reached the Caribbean yet, they've issued a storm warning in the United States. Huh? Yeah, so people have time to prepare. Yeah. Their policy at the time was to not say anything until the storms were halfway across the Atlantic. And I said, BS. Don't wait. Warn the people. And let them know, even if a storm is not coming directly at us, as long as it's heading this way, tell people so they can prepare. Tell people. All right. Well, eventually, I got so fed up, I just left that committee. I left. So please, don't give me this thing about volunteer your services. I did, ma'am. I did. I did. But you can only do so much when people are not listening. You think it's only me complaining? Go walk the streets downtown there today, and you'll hear it. You yourself have probably complained. But of course, quietly. I'm not going to waste any more time on that. Let's see here. Okay, hello there, Penny, my good friend out there in the Laurentians. She says, Fox is asking, what's up, George? Well, Penny, tell Fox, Georgie Porgy is alive and well. Peter Bishop says, Louise, I guess you end up on the wrong site. No, Peter, let them come. Let them come. They may learn something. May, I said, may learn something. John says, he's got the T-shirt, Louise. He's got the T-shirt. Not sure what that one's all about. Okay. Help us, folks. Wake up, wake up. Fitzroy Adams says, good morning. You had a good time. Fitzroy, I haven't a clue what you're talking about. I haven't. Pilgrims, here comes the National Report. And remember, this was released on Friday night.
Grenada Cocoa Association challenged to become more innovative to deal with the effects of climate change. Details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Friday, August 23rd, I am Leslie Ann Johnson. The Grenada Cocoa Association is being challenged to become and remain innovative in the face of climate change. That challenge was thrown out by Agriculture Minister the Honourable Yolande Bain Hosford when she addressed farmers at the GCA's annual general meeting on Thursday. Details in this report by Mina Booker, the Public Relations Officer in the Ministry of Agriculture.
Minister of Agriculture and Lands, Honourable Yolande Bain Hosford, told the cocoa farmers they need to employ innovative techniques that can enhance cocoa production in Grenada. These techniques can help to counter the effects of climate change on the production of cocoa.
A 20% reduction in dried cocoa as compared to last year must be of concern for GCA. While it was believed that such decrease in production was due to the negative impact by adverse weather conditions, farmers are encouraged to adopt climate-smart agricultural approaches in the face of the challenges of climate change. Some of the climate-smart agricultural approaches which have been advanced include, among others, organic mixed cocoa plantations, construction of deep drains, construction of windbreaks, rainwater harvesting.
The ministry continues to support the association, which experiences cash flow challenges as a result of fluctuating prices on the global market. Reviewing the GCA's performance for the past year, Minister Bain Hosford praised the organization's efforts but implored upon members to explore added value to cocoa, like its undertaking at the Diamond Estate in Victoria to produce Juve and other chocolate products.
While I applaud the GCA efforts, we must ask ourselves, will these measures bring the GCA and by extension farmers the long-term benefits desired? I dare say, this heavy reliance on prices on the international market will not restore a viable industry. The New Today, on Friday, 16th August, published an article by Dr. Reginald Buckmeyer entitled, Can Chocolate Save the Grenada Cocoa Industry? In essence, the article points to value added and the potential exploits of the Diamond Chocolate Factory. I wish to concur with Dr. Buckmeyer and to ask the GCA to continue to explore chocolate and chocolate products but this is the gateway to a viable industry.
In 2018, government allocated EC 1.5 million to the GCA to purchase cocoa from farmers. In the words of Nadia Comaneci, a Romanian retired gymnast, the agriculture minister urged the farmers and members of the association to find practical solutions to combat the challenges faced.
As Nadia Comaneci once said, and I quote, "I don't run away from a challenge because I'm afraid. Instead, I run towards it because the only way to escape fear is to trample it beneath your foot." So when the cocoa industry faces challenges, you just don't go into a state of despair. But instead, farmers, management, and the board needs to wrap their heads around the issues and find practical solutions to overcome these challenges. So you can't give up. The fact is that all of you all have to work together. Look at the issues and see how you can, because I know some of you farmers have a lot of skills, great ideas, but somebody to drive it in the direction so you can make something out of it.
The GCA, however, plays a critical role in Grenada's cocoa economy, helping farmers to grow, ferment, dry, market, and sell the superior quality beans. Chairman of the organization, Pastor Christopher Williams, says they continue to have high hopes for the cocoa industry.
We are thinking seriously, very seriously, of increasing the price. We have sold so far 350 tons of cocoa to Verona at $4,000 a ton. While
Alrighty, folks, not able to explain what has happened there, but for some reason we are not getting the audio from the GIS. Once the program's over, I'm going to check and see if that was an issue with a file that was sent to us. Anyhow, I'll tell you what, Benedict Cador says, I guess he's gone to feed his face. No, no, Benedict, he did not go to feed his face. Funny bunny. He's sitting right here. He's sitting right here. John Bruno says, 45 years of independence, and where has our agriculture gone? Huh? The same place that the sound went. Being a smart aleck here. Okay, folks, let's take a little break here, and then we'll come back with a feature.
GRENADA, Community Partnership Initiative, supporting health.
To the individuals who will be using these vehicles to serve the people, please ensure while we are using these tools that we use these tools in a manner that we will all be proud of. To GRENADA, a long-standing partner with us, a true testament of what can happen when private and public sector work together for the benefit of the people.
GRENADA, energizing our community.
Studying too hard about back-to-school expenses? Co-op Bank is making back to school as easy as 1, 2, 3. Enjoy competitive interest rates, affordable monthly payments, speedy decisions on applications. Come in and apply today.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Can I have a chicken lunch, please? Large.
Real nice today.
I don't want that.
But you just asked for a chicken lunch.
I don't have problem with the lunch. Afraid the container.
What is the problem with it?
These styrofoam containers, they don't good for the environment. They shorten with life.
What foolishness you telling me? So what you want me to use?
Put my food in this.
Where you get that?
At the food fair, where you could get all biodegradable food boxes and disposable food supplies like cups, plates, anything you could think about. Name it, it's there. And they don't harm the environment. Food fair, taking the lead in cleaning up and protecting the environment. Hey, like you take me advice, you get in your biodegradable food supplies.
Well, girl, I supporting who's supporting the environment. That is why I shop in at food fair.
Food fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets. Products distributed by Hubbard's agency, Kirani James Boulevard.
Folks, for those of you who missed yesterday's edition of SWGG, boy, did we have a blast yesterday. Would you believe, to end the program, we had almost a half hour of laughter. I mean, these folks cracked up. We had a great time. But we also had some serious stuff. And I want to play a portion of that serious stuff that we talked about yesterday, because I think it's important that you guys hear it. Just before I do, however, John says, read the GIS audio. Did the sound go north or was it south? I don't know, John. I don't know where it went. John is also clearing up something here. A little while ago, somebody mentioned he's got the T-shirt. John said to Louise, he's got the T-shirt, and I didn't understand what got the T-shirt meant. Well, John has explained here that got the T-shirt is another way of saying been there, done that. Thank you, John, for clarifying that. Now, Let's get into that little segment that we did yesterday. It's about 20 minutes long, and it had to do with a statement that was made, or a lecture that was given to the press corps at last Tuesday's post-cabinet briefing. Self-explanatory. Let's get really serious here. I don't think you've ever seen me as serious as I'm about to be, because this one really pinched a nerve. It's about a lecture which was given to the media this past week by the press secretary to Prime Minister Keith Mitchell. And I'm not the only one who was rubbed the wrong way. I want you to listen. Why? When I first heard of the appointment of Ms. Robertson as the new press secretary for the Prime Minister, I was ecstatic. From where I sat, it appeared to me that the bar had been raised. I was happy, and I wished her well. And believe it or not, I still do. But quite frankly, what she did on Tuesday really agitated a lot of people. Let me begin by sharing a lecture to the media, which was delivered by Prime Minister's Press Secretary, Philomena Robinson, on Tuesday. Here we go.
This morning, however, before we delve into the formal proceedings, I would just like to make a point on professionalism and respect. This is a professional setting. The facilitators are usually ministers of government or senior officials, and they are professionals. Likewise, members of the media who are present are professionals. And as such, we should conduct ourselves in a manner befitting of professionals. In other words, there should be professionalism in the workplace. And all persons here at the press briefing are in the workplace in one capacity or another. One of the key elements of professionalism is demonstrating respect. Respect for one's self, respect for colleagues, respect for persons in authority, respect for the workplace environment, whether it is your actual office or another location where you execute your duties as a professional. Specifically, as it relates to these press briefings, we must also demonstrate respect for the audience, the viewing and listening public. There have been instances in recent times when it appeared that the professional nature of this weekly press briefing is challenged and where disrespect is evident. We are all servants of the people, and in executing our respective duties, we should remember this and put personal issues aside. This is simply not the time nor the place. From henceforth, I would expect that we would all conduct ourselves in a professional, respectful, and courteous manner at all times during our weekly post-cabinet press briefings.
Now, allow me to share with you some of the comments I've heard pertaining to that uncalled for lecture. 1. I missed the point Sarah Sanders made in the above audio clip because I have listened to a couple of the cabinet press briefings and heard the said speaker cut off members of the press in a very disrespectful manner. What a farce. That's 1. 2. Those instructions ought to be practiced by the Prime Minister, who still refuses to be honest and accountable regarding Sheldon Scott. 3. Philo can't be serious. Whatever happened to charity begins at home? Is that message for reporters who ask questions they don't like? or for the rude, obnoxious, odious ministers who do the same damn thing. 4, amazingly how easily people can become corrupted. Seems like she has swallowed all of the Kool-Aid. 5, yes, she has plummeted steeply on my barometer. She has become Sarah Sanders Huckabee Jr., and that is no compliment. 6, good morning. I'm driving, so I can't type. The irony of this long, aimless, and useless dribble is that I now feel disrespected as a grown-up. That this woman would have to admonish me in that way. Everything that she is saying there, I was taught in grade school. So that long dribble accomplishes nothing except that it generates disrespect in its own right. And what she needs to do is to call Mitchell and all of them in a room and let them listen to this tape 100 times, because they are the instigators. Oh my God, have a blessed day. Those are just some of the comments. There were others as well, Ms. Robinson, but I will refrain from reading them or playing them on the air. Why? Because your comments so outraged some persons that they gutterized their reactions. Reactions which are not suitable for airing on this program. That's how angry you made them, ma'am. Not only was your dissertation arrogant, but I found it appalling that just days after this nation was subjected to the indignation of their elected prime minister, telling them that his marital status was none of their business, you saw it fit to take his now infamous words, Gudday, to the streets during the Juve festivities. To you, that was funny. And a week later, you are lecturing the media about respect? What am I missing here? I remain hopeful, ma'am, that you did not deliver, that you did deliver that lecture on your own recognizance, and that perhaps you may have been pressured by your superiors to launch into the media. Truth be told, ma'am, I really don't know which it was. I don't. If it was the latter, I can certainly understand why you did. Yeah. There are many people in this country today who, if they do not bow to the dictates of this administration, are subjected to various forms of persecution, ostracization, victimization, and whatever else. I know, ma'am, because I too bear the scars for having dedicated most of my 47 years in this business to to opening the eyes of the Grenadian people to the injustices to which they are being subjected. Yeah, I've paid the price. You probably don't, but this country knows all about it. If it was done under your own steam, I'm ashamed at how low one would stoop. And you too should be ashamed. Very much so. For not having the intestinal fortitude to speak up in support of the role of the media. As someone who claims to be a media practitioner, you ought to have known that the reporter was well within her rights to ask the question she did of the Prime Minister. What you did this past week, ma'am, was to validate the sarcastic humor which was laughed at by the Grenadian people when the Prime Minister, during a recent speech in Montreal, admonished public servants to speak up if they become aware of any wrongdoing in government. You have fallen into the category of so many public officers who, for fear of speaking out against this administration, opted to remain silent. That man was gutless and spineless, a travesty. But you're not alone. Today, public servants suffer in silence because of their fear that their child would not get a scholarship, for fear about being transferred to some demeaning position, while this country goes to hell in a handbasket. Yeah. I heard you demanding respect, Madam Press Secretary, and find it imperative that I share this with you. Madam Press Secretary, I come from an era where respect came the old-fashioned way. We earned it. We didn't demand it. If nothing else, I hope that that has been a lesson you will soon learn. I hope that this does not come to you as a surprise, that many people in this country have lost all respect for your administration. Not because they want to, but because, like me, they have been coerced into losing that respect. How can you respect an administration which flagrantly violates the Constitution with impunity? How can you respect an administration, those in authority, who do our business in secrecy, and when asked about our affairs are told, that is none of your business? How could you respect an administration that would set up a plant which is known to be a health hazard in close proximity to a residential area, putting their very lives at risk? How can you respect an administration which does not respect the head of its police force? How could you respect an administration which allows one of its mouthpieces to abuse the hard-earned taxes of the Grenadian people and walk away without even a slap on the wrist? May I humbly submit to you, Ms. Robinson, that having listened to me today, you should very well be aware of where your next lecture should be directed. Like Mr. Bashinsky says, I done. Yeah, I done. Okay. Let me try and see if I can pull up, and I hope you took your time. I'm sure you had a lot to say, and I really want to share it, but please, I hope you wrote properly. Peter Bishop says, when you speak of the press secretary to the PM of Grenada, you mean Sarah Sanders? No, I didn't. No, I did not mean Sarah Sanders, but thanks for the humor anyway. Believe it, I need it. And that's why I've selected some humor to come your way in just a wee bit. John Crow Alexander says, her tone was very disrespectful. Peter says, servant of the people, we the public have a right to know. And more importantly, most of the ministers who come to the briefing are not honest with their answers to the public. What's wrong with Sarah Sanders? Anthony says, another time in the past, the press was placed under heavy manners. Remember that term? Poor Alistair Hughes. Anthony, I have the scars to prove it too. Ryan Jabon says, respect? Pot calling kettle black. Ken Charles says, I think the PM needs to tell the people what's going on. Ryan also says here, respect is earned. And that, Ryan, is my point. You don't demand respect, you earn it. Lydia James is just chiming in. Ernesto says, I think she was very rude and should start by cleaning the house where she is a part of, and stop throwing stones while you're living in a glass house. Ryan says, think about it. He who pays the piper calls the tune. Ernesto says, I guess the raise in her salary is paying off with taxpayers' monies. John Crow Alexander says, when is her next public lecture presentation? What is the basis for such onslaught? Lydia James says, oh, Sarah Sanders at it again. Oh my, my. My, oh my. She is so rude. So says Lydia. Folks, I said what had to be said. And you know what I've been through. And because I have said what I did this morning, don't be too surprised if you see things getting really rough for George Grant again. When they do, you know why. Isaac O.P. says, well said, George, about disrespecting his commissioner of police and telling him just who he wants in his detail, and the cop is unable to respond. As I said, he should be arrested for his law breaking. Please take in the PM for questioning, re-law breaking. Yeah, folks. All right. All righty. That was a rebroadcast of a segment that we aired on yesterday's edition of Gudday Grenada. And let me get right away to your reaction. John says, ministers are professional? Don't make me laugh. Arthur says, Brother George, did I hear that lady saying the word respect? She needs to have respect herself. So says Arthur. John says, if they respect us, then we can respect them. Margaret says, I'd like to know what were the instances of disrespect that she's referring to. Mags, one can only surmise that it was asking the Prime Minister the question that she did. Not making a statement, asking a question. Ryan says, this young lady press secretary of the PM of Grenada did admonish and reprove at length her audience. You noticed there, Ryan. John says, don't go there, Margaret. Ryan says, she rebuked her audience and the media for questions asked. Yes, Ryan. Anthony Park says, I am indeed disappointed in Miss Robinson. Margaret says, ditto. Expected better, considering her experience and training. Margaret, you know, like I suggested a little while ago, it may, I don't know, but it may not have been on her own doing. I don't know. So I don't want to jump to conclusions. Ryan says, she may castigate and chastise you next. Gigi. Ryan, I expect it. But you know, like I said in that piece, I already bear the scars of what's been done to me, simply because I tried to open the eyes of the Grenadian people to the injustices to which they're being subjected. That makes George Grant a no-no, a bad guy. How dare you? So please, as I mentioned, you see things happening, start happening, you know why. You know why. Okay. Pilgrims, it's 10 minutes after the hour, time to hightail it out of here. But, as we always do, let's wrap it up with something inspirational. And this morning's word comes to you from the book of Hebrews, Hebrews chapter 12, 7 to 11. Endure hardship as discipline. God is treating you as his children. For what children are not disciplined by their father? If you are not disciplined, and everyone undergoes discipline, then you are not legitimate, not true sons and daughters at all. Moreover, we have all had human fathers who disciplined us, and we respected them for it. How much more should we submit to the Father of spirits and live? They disciplined us for a little while as they thought best, but God disciplines us for our good, in order that we may share in His holiness. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. Yeah. Hebrews chapter 12, verses 7 to 11. John says, stay safe, George. Hey, guys, don't you worry. Don't you worry. We do what we have to do regardless of the consequences, because I answer to a higher power. Clive is out there. Good morning, Clive. You know, this morning I took a look at the satellite, not the satellite picture, but some webcams in Barbados, and this was about just before I went on the air, about quarter to 9. And Barbados, even though they seem to be in for a direct hit by Dorian, I saw lots of sunshine. Yes, there were some clouds about, but lots of sunshine out there. So I guess later on today they're going to start feeling the brunt of it. And Clive here is saying, we are still enjoying Barbados, but strangely believe that storm motion is following us and not focusing on Grenada this time around. Yeah, Clive, I think you guys are going to get the brunt of it. And it's going to skirt just to the north of here, just to the north. So we really don't expect things to be too bad. But again, let that not be interpreted to mean that you should let your guards down. Make whatever preparations you need to. Pick up some canned food. Make sure you've got lots of water, first aid kit, battery and flashlight, and stuff like that. And since this is not likely to impact us until the wee hours of tomorrow morning, I would also suggest that if possible, try and find some time to take down some of the branches that may be overhanging your home. You've got drains that may be blocked. Try and clear those drains and stuff like that. And if you can sneak away from the office at some point today, just make sure that you've got your insurance policies up to date. Up to date. Better to be safe than sorry. Arthur says, thank you very much, Brother George, for the great job you're doing by bringing the truth to us. Thank you, Arthur. My pleasure, my honor. And I think that's going to do it for today. Thank you very much, my dear friends, for joining us for today's edition of Good Day, Grenada. You have a great day. And to use John's words here, stay safe. God bless you.